What's up, Too Thick fam? As you can see, the better half is with me today. Jeremy will be coming in shortly, but we have some good news. We had a busy week, busy week. We dealt with sickness. We dealt with a couple trips, um, maybe some big purchases. I don't know. Courtney might tell us. Jeremy might have some purchases. Well, Jeremy went to Cali midweek and visited PSA in Burbanks. We had Courtney that went to the Dallas Card Show. So we decided to go live, give a little recap, and take it away, Courtney. The Dallas Card Show, your first time there. How was it?
So it was overwhelming. And like we've talked about a lot of times that Jeremy's the trader, the big, the big dealer. And I've always been like more of a collector and more of a PC purchaser. So when we go to big shows like this, I don't want to say intimidated because I know what I want to buy. It's just I don't like trading. And the Dallas Card Show was one of the greatest shows that I have ever been to. Like I can't express the amount of cool stuff that I saw, the amount of just insane high-end stuff, and then just like dollar boxes and things that were like you could not 700 tables, dude. It was 700 tables. You were like, you're in your card glory. I told Kyle and Ruben who run it that this was like Disneyland, Christmas, a birthday, everything all wrapped up into one. And if Jeremy, if I gave him a fat stack of cash and just set him loose in that show, I don't think I'd ever see him again. I think he would just like all of a sudden he would be gone and that would be it.
Just show up at your hotel room at the
like
end
just
of the night.
disheveled, like maybe like half of his beard shaved off. It's just like what happened. Like a guy said he'd give me a better deal if I shaved half of my beard. I'd be like, I can see that happening. I don't know why that would happen.
How was so it seemed like how you said dollar boxes, and I know there's high end cards. So was it a big mixture of everything, right?
Yeah, there was so much. And so for me, it was actually really good because I picked up a PC thing from Trading Card Chick. Super cool. Dick Buckus card. Very dope. And I picked up something for the Dangerous Games pod, which was a Mike Tyson card that actually had Don King on it. So I hadn't seen one with both of them like that before, and it was graded. So I was pretty excited about that. So I scooped that up. And then Jeremy sent me to go make a deal with Extraordinary Cards. So I picked up a Jalen Brunson Tiger Stripe PSA 9, which was like super dope. And then I bought a box of 2018 Prism.
Okay, 2018.
Yeah,
That's exciting.
Out of a case.
There you go. Did you pull the one of one Luca, and are you a millionaire now?
So I'm going to tell you something. If I won the lottery,
yeah,
Jeremy and I have talked about this. If I won the lottery, I would never tell anybody.
Okay.
So if I pulled that one of one,
you wouldn't know. Well,
we would know.
You would have to tell someone, right, to get your bounty.
I might have pulled it.
Oh,
I might not have.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll never know. You'll never know.
You know, you might be right. That's probably why Jeremy's not here. He's collecting his bounty.
He flew out to get his bounty. Yeah. That's where he really is. You didn't know. I managed to pull it out of a blaster too, which I don't know how I did that magic.
I mean, Brett pulled out a 101 Weston McKinney out of a blaster.
You are not wrong.
Yeah, anything's possible. I do want to say I saw Matt in here. He said his local card show or card shop sets up at Dallas. I do want to say thank you because I got mail day today randomly, right? And I was like, I didn't buy anything. I swear, Kaylee, I didn't buy anything. Nomar Garcia Parra cards, 10 of them. So I do want to shout him out. Thank you so much. It meant the world when I opened these. Like, I mean, there's so many random cards that Nomar has. So
it's so weird because we got a random mail day from Matthew Person as well.
Did you?
Yes, I got a P-Will pink camo mosaic, and I got a Dewdrop card.
That's awesome.
Which I will be posting on Too Thick tonight, so you guys can see it.
That's awesome.
Really, we have like the people that have come into our lives from cards. I feel like it's like we're like just blessed with all of these like great people. And
Mhm.
like my closest friends outside of like my very best friend that I grew up with from like high school and my family are card people now.
Mhm.
I feel so lucky. And that is actually a really good segue into I want to talk about what the highlight. I had two highlights of the show. So the first highlight of the show was that I got to hang out with Christina. We hung out. That was so much fun. Her and Haj embarrassed the crap out of me the whole time because every time we'd walk up to somebody, they'd introduce me as, "Oh, this is Courtney. She's from Card Porn," and it was really embarrassing. I was really embarrassed.
That's funny.
So, shout out to them for making me like uncomfortable, but in a fun way.
Yeah.
And then the second one was I was walking around the show, kind of just talking to people because that's my favorite thing to do when I go to show, aside from buying a bunch of PC when I'm supposed to be buying stuff for the shows and inventory. And I'm like, Jeremy can do that. I'm just gonna buy stuff that I want. So, so I'm walking around the show, kind of like checking out what's in everybody's case. I just got there. The show had been going on for a little while because my flight was super delayed because of the weather.
Mhm.
It seems like every Friday when I have a card show to go to, there's just like a blizzard and like all like hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
So that's what was happening. That was what was happening on Friday for me. Like I literally I was supposed to be boarding at like 7:48, like some random time. And I was walking up to my gate at 7:55. So I was convinced that like they like I was like they were gonna be like on me, like way past me, which they should have by all means, but they were running late. My plane wasn't even fueled up and they had to de-ice it like 3 times before we could take off. So I was like, we're definitely dying. Like I'm gonna die on my way to Dallas.
And
This
you
is
had
the
all
second weekend in a row where I'm traveling to a card show fearing for my actual life. I'm like, what am I doing with myself right now?
but you made it. You made it, and I mean, you couldn't. You had some valuable cards with you as well.
So I actually sold. It's so funny because I didn't buy a ton. I wanted to, but I don't know. I'm more like I like to buy what I want. I'm very bad at buying what we should be buying. You
That's
know that.
Yep.
That's fair.
Yep.
But I sold a ton of cards. And then I brought a bunch of Justin Fields with me. And then after Friday, which I want to talk about that too. So I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, so I'm walking around and I noticed this man and his son. They're kind of like walking in the same general vicinity that I am. And they stop at this table and they're looking at a card and they're clearly trying to comp the card.
Mhm.
And I'm watching the dealer kind of watch them. And they're like, how much is this card for? And he's like, I haven't priced it. I think it's this much, but let's look it up. So he looks it up and he's like, oh, it looks like it sold for so much on eBay or whatever. So the dealer looks up the comp and it was the best offer accepted for like whatever.
Mhm.
And the dealer looks at the guy and he goes, well, he's like, let's actually look up what the real comp is. And the guy's like, what does that mean? And he's like, well, this is best offer accepted. That means that it could be a different amount. And the guy was like, this is our first card show. My son just started kind of getting into this and I'm bringing him, but we don't really know what we're doing.
Mhm.
And so the dealer goes, give me your phone, pulls up 130 point, shows him how to use it, like actually shows him on his phone how to use it,
Yep.
shows him what the actual comp of that card was, and then sold it to him for a little less than the comp was.
Oh wow, that was nice of the dealer.
I'm standing there. I watched this whole interaction.
Yeah.
And then I walk up to the dealer and I'm like, I have to tell you, that was so genuinely kind. And that is how we operate.
Yep.
It was so refreshing to see somebody do that. And like, I'm like, you just made their experience in this space better just by not being a scumbag. And you could have been like, yeah, it was $100. That's what the comp says. So it's $100, even though it wasn't anywhere near that amount.
Mhm.
And then, so we chatted for a while. He had just like retired from the military and he was kind of trying to figure out what he wanted to do. He loved cards. So he had set up this, it kind of like worked out that he could set up at the Dallas show when he was in the main room. And he was just, making the best of it and having a really good time. And then I ran into him later at trade night, and him and his friend were showing me all the Jordan Love cards that they had picked up because everybody was going ham for Jordan Love and Justin Fields this weekend.
Yeah.
So it was so nice. And then he sent me a message on Instagram today. And I just feel like that kind of connection at shows like this is what it's all about, right? I could not tell you a better experience that I had at the show outside of this one.
That's awesome.
It was so nice to see something like that happen. And this is a huge show where people are coming to try and, maximize their money. Everybody's walking around with cameras. You have social media influencers. You have, big high rolling dealers at this show. And you have this guy who's just like trying to make the space a little better for this kid and his dad. And that was like such a feel good moment that I needed to share it.
And that's the kind of stuff that me and you do at card shows. Me and you kind of love making friends, right? We'll go up and start talking to people.
Yeah.
And then it's like 2 hours left of the show and we're like,
I didn't buy anything.
We haven't got anything. And Jeremy's the opposite. So
he's got a stack this big of everything he bought and traded.
He's like, I bought this for this much. I bought this for this much. All right, I'm gonna leave and go get some more. So it's kind of cool how you could take a card show a couple different ways. You could go in, become a dealer, right, and sell. You could also be a dealer, buy. But then you could also be that type of person just building relationships in the community. And like you said, that father and son could have got taken advantage of, but with him telling them, they probably used 130 point to buy cards at that point. So they weren't buying at a more of an expensive price point because the best offer is going to show what they listed it as. So they could have potentially got really screwed at that show. So it is nice to see people like that still in the hobby. I do have one question though. How do you feel? Because Jeremy and I kind of talked about this, the eBay best offer, and it was actually, you could see the best offer versus bids. How would you comp a card if there's one best offer accepted and then bids that's a little higher, but the best offer is like really lower? What would you do?
So for me, like, I always go bids over best offer if there's more than one comp.
Mm-hmm.
If there's only one comp, then I go and see if it's like a confirmed sale. Because if it's not a confirmed sale, it's just best offer accepted. I often assume that's just a fake sale.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like best offer accepted and like say every card on bids is doing like 95 to 100 and then it's like a best offer accepted like 115, I would consider that a real comp. It was just maybe someone was trying to shoot their shot and had it listed for like 150 even though it's clearly selling solidly.
Yep.
But sometimes people list their cards wrong too. I've had this conversation a million times. Like sometimes people just list their cards wrong and you get a bin because it should have been higher. And there was something in the listing that was wrong. Mm-hmm. So like these are all like things that you have to take into account when you're looking at comps and buy it nows. And actually I have a story about that too from the show. So I've had a couple trade offers on the Luka, right? But it was hard because the last sale was before the season. And, you get someone who gets a little voracious with their trading. And then when it's time to actually pull the trigger on the trade, they're like, oh, they feel a little uncomfortable because there isn't a good comp. There wasn't a good comp on the card. And it just sold. So we had a good comp on it. And I was like, I kind of want to move into a Joey B auto or maybe some Trevor Lawrence or something while I'm at the show. So I'm kind of walking around, kind of feeling some stuff out. And I found a dealer. And this is where comps to me becomes, you can argue it from both sides, right? If you're buying, you want to make those comps seem as low as possible. And if you're selling, you want them to be the highest comps you've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And at some point you kind of have to come together in the middle and like understand that. So I was trying to like scoop up a Joe Burrow. I found one I liked. So I was trying to just straight out sell the Luka and then take it because he already had the same card as me. So he didn't want it. He didn't want to like just trade. So I'm walking around like, I'll sell this. It has a comp for like 3.5. So I can probably, get like 3 for it if I wanted. So I'm like, I'm negotiating with this guy over the card. and he's trying to tell me it's only worth $2,000. And I'm like, dude, I'm not like an idiot. I think sometimes people think they see me, they assume that I don't know what I'm doing because I'm always wearing like my Stranger Things t-shirts and my
Yeah.
goofy orange hat and my backpack, and I probably look like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, so he's we're going back and forth a little about the value of the card, and he's telling me he does not feel that the sale that just happened this week was a legitimate sale. That it's not confirmed. But I'm like, it's confirmed on Card Ladder. Are you saying Card Ladder is lying or wrong?
Were they right by you at that one?
No, they weren't with me.
Okay, I was gonna say that.
I was by myself. So
Fun.
I think he probably would have taken me more seriously if I was like walking with someone he knew, but I was
Yeah.
just like some random chick at the show.
Mhm.
So we're kind of like going back and forth about it, and I'm like, he's like, the last comp for this was, $2,500. What happened to make it go $1,000 in a few months? And I'm like, there was a trade,
Yep.
that was preseason before they played. They've been like, how well they played. You have and once the trade happened, then the out of 50 did like $9,000. So that already makes my card more valuable just by the sake of it also being numbered.
Yep.
We were kind of like going back and forth about it, and I'm like, I think like cash, I think 3,000 is fair because the comp, take percentage off, so you have a little meat on the bones. And trade, I want 3,500 in trade.
Yeah.
If I'm trading.
Yep.
So he was like, 2,000. I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm just gonna pass. So I go to walk away, and there's a kid standing next to me, and he's now offering me cash and Cade Cunningham cards. He wants the card. And the second that this kid was like going hard trying to he waited respectfully until I was done, and I said no. And then he's trying to get in. And then the second this kid's trying, now all of a sudden the dealer's back trying to like toss some cards at me and give me more. He's like, I could go 3 on trade. I'm like, I have 3,500 on trade, or I'm passing. So for me, and then what ended up happening is like we couldn't come to an agreement, so I left, which was fine.
Mhm.
But for me, as someone who doesn't really like to trade because of reasons like this, like it makes me, this whole interaction, I left feeling fine, like good, like no bad feelings. The guy was, he was doing what that's his job. He needs to get the most out of his cards, just like I need to get the most out of mine. But at the end of the day, that interaction, I felt really good because I felt like I knew what I was talking about. I felt like I held my own. Even though sometimes you feel like you're dealing with someone who knows more than you, I felt confident walking away from that deal rather than just being like bowled over by someone. Yep. So overwhelmingly, that was a great experience and interaction, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Doesn't it feel like amazing when you actually did the research on the card? So like you already know what they're going to try to question and you already have an answer. I did that with some of my cards because there's sometimes where I go into a deal and they're like, no, this is this. And I'm like, I don't know the argument. Yeah, you got a point. But then when you actually do the research and you're like, no, this one sold for this much. This one sold for this much. And this is preseason. There's a trade. Like, look at what happened with this card when it got traded. What kind of percentage it went up? So this percentage should go up the same. It's actually a good feeling when you basically are telling the dealer, yeah, I know what I'm talking about.
It was. And again, the guy, like, he was dealing in like $1 million cards. So my little measly card was nothing to him. But he probably doesn't even realize that, like, I'm sure he, like, when I walked away, he was like, oh, that sucked, but for me, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I just did something that I don't typically do, because I don't like to trade. And I put myself in a situation that I was a little uncomfortable doing, but did it anyway. And I walked away feeling like I hadn't lost anything. Yep. So that was, and I think for people who are nervous about trading, I think just like getting out there and doing. Now, I wouldn't advise trading with like thousands of dollars worth of cards if you're not comfortable doing it. Because I think if it had been a smaller card, I would have made a deal happen in that moment. But because it was such a big card, I was like, this doesn't make me feel 100% comfortable. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah. My problem with trading is I always want, kind of like what Jeremy said, I always want the other person to feel like I didn't take advantage of them. So it's funny because it's like I could be losing the trade, and I'll go to the guy and be like, you sure you want to do this? Make sure you're positive, 100% positive you want to do this. I want both of us to be happy. But I get it. I get it because my first trade ever was at Shipshawana, and I had like 2 or 3 of them at Shipshawana. So it's like I did one and I felt super comfortable. So now you're going to be a trading queen here at the next couple of shows. I think you're going to Chicago on Friday. Are you still walking?
Yeah, we're definitely doing that. And it's so funny because I've been buying cards for, ever. And I don't have a problem negotiating the price of a card. I will talk about that. It's when you have 2 objects that each person is putting a value on that neither one of them have an actual inherent value. It is like this card is worth what someone's paying for it and this card is worth it. So it's harder for me because I can put a cash value on something. I can look at something and be like, that is worth that much. And also for me, I don't want to straight up trade, which is weird. It's like, I can't explain it. I don't want to trade one card for another card. I want to either like trade up into something bigger or trade down into a bunch of smaller stuff. But I'm not going to take my $200 card and trade it for your $200 card. I just don't, I don't know. I never want to do that. The only time I would do something like that is like now if I like a baseball card because baseball's up, that's worth $200 to trade for like a $200 football card that's down that will go back up. Like I would consider a trade like that. But I don't know. I'm still like sketch about trading.
Yeah, or you could another way that I was thinking about it is if you have say you have a card you can't move and someone wants to trade you with like kind of the similar value that they know someone and it's a player that you can move, where it's just like a swap of like, okay, I know
like how you're not selling soccer up north and you're going up north and you want to trade for like hockey or whatever. Northern Michigan. I don't know.
I want
give me your hockey cards. I'll give you the soccer that nobody's going to buy from me up there.
Exactly. No one's going to buy from Traverse City. I'm telling you, if you're listening, you go to Traverse City, Michigan, do not bring soccer cards.
They don't want it.
They don't want
it. Like soccer's awesome. You got to know. That's like when we had Dennis on from A-Rays. You got to know the demographic, know what people want to buy if you're going to go to the show. So,
and then there's certain type of shows that you could bring whatever and people will buy everything because it's just like the
Dallas is like that. You could have anything. I could have sold I came home with my Fields because I was like, I'm not going to sell these. I came home with my Luka just because I'd rather hold on to that card. I feel like that, it's either going to stay the same or it's going to go up. And I didn't want to just sell it for the sake of selling it. I want to just do a deal for the sake of doing a deal.
Yeah.
But I did come home with more money than what I left with. I'd like more than paid for my trip, so I wasn't mad.
That's positive right there.
It's like I'm like I don't know what to buy. I don't, and the thing is like I get it too because I was looking for football and football's down and people don't want to like negotiate down on football cards right now, and I don't want to pay sticker because I'm used to the shows by us where you can negotiate prices. So I don't know. It's different. You learn like the different areas where you go and buy. Like, I'm very, very comfortable at our local shows where I know people and I'm doing deals with people I do deals with all the time. And I've always been like a local person. This is my first, like this year is the first year where I like traveled out to like other areas and you're making deals with people you've never seen or talked to before. And it is like, I consider myself a pretty friendly person and a pretty open person. I'm definitely willing to talk to just about anyone, but it is a little overwhelming to do those kind of things. So, and especially not like being a dealer. Like if I was set up and people were coming up to me and wanting to do deals, I feel so much more confident in that position than I do being on the other side of the table.
Yeah, because it's like you have all the power. Like,
well, it's not even, maybe, but maybe it's a power dynamic for me. I feel like I need the table between us, but I need to be on the other side of it.
Let's get into, because I know you kind of brought it up, is you said people were looking for mostly Fields and Jordan Love.
So no, not at first. So Friday, like early in the day, I had my Fields card and I like people who were like, oh yeah, they were looking at the actual comps of the cards, right? Like what they had just sold for. And I had them priced a little high because I was like, I don't know if I really want to sell these. If it was like any other quarterback, I would be like, whatever the comps were. But because it's my quarterback, I had it like maybe 15% over comps. Maybe 20. I'm not going to lie. It was a little over comps. And we don't do that. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
But so kind of walking around the show and showing off my cards, whatever. And people were like, maybe. I can't get there. They wanted to be like well under what I wanted because obviously they're dealers, and I get that because when I
Yeah.
sell, I'm not going to pay comps for something. But what I saw was when the trade was like announced, and then all of a sudden it was like you could just hear people talking about it. And the next thing I know, all of a sudden, the people that were not super interested in the fields or were like didn't want to pay, now they're like throwing more and more at me. They like want it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I can tell you that I think these cards are going to go way up, but until you see, like, it was like you could watch it in live time, like as it was happening, seeing
Mm-hmm.
people's feelings about Justin Fields switching. And all of a sudden he went from being like, to he was the one that was in demand, and people were pulling their Fields out of their showcases. People were trying to buy Fields cards from other people, and you could just feel that. And as a Bears fan, not just as a collector, but as a Bears fan, feeling everyone's excitement and hype about my team
Yeah.
and watching it happen was awesome. Like, I was like, let's go. I'm here for this. I'm like, I left my Fields cards in my room. I'm like, those aren't for trade anymore. And
Yeah.
I was like this close to a deal with a guy on them. And I was like tired. And I went out to dinner and I had like a drink, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I shouldn't be trading right now. I'm gonna go to bed. So I'm like, I'll come to your table tomorrow and we'll work out a deal. I did go to his table. And I told him because I hate it when people ghost you. So I went down and I'm just like, hey, I thought about it overnight and I talked to Jeremy, and I'm just I'm not gonna trade these.
Yeah.
And he was like super chill. He's like, I totally get it. He's like, I wouldn't trade him either. So
Well, for sure. I mean, what did they got DJ Moore and some draft picks, so
they got it was like for like 9th and 61st in one
yeah.
year, and then a first round and a second round, and then another second round and DJ Moore.
Yeah, it's insane what they got. I was trying to mess. You know how I am with Jeremy. I try to get him going. Now I know how to get him going. So
You're
I got
welcome.
it. I know how. So
I taught you, young grasshopper.
yeah. Thank you, because I can continue to do that. But I was like we were in a chat, and I was like, man, just the Bears just need a quarterback at this point now. And he didn't even take the bait. I was so mad because I was like,
He'll just ignore you. Yeah.
he did. He definitely ignored me. But yeah, it is exciting for your team. The thing is you didn't have to sell Fields because we go to Chicago shows all the time, and you could get full sticker price at the Chicago show.
Over for what we have.
Yeah, because everyone at Skyline, probably at this Chicago show this weekend, are going to be wanting Justin Fields. It's going to be a high demand.
We just did like another trade on Verisot for another Fields too.
Oh, did you?
And Jeremy won one on eBay, so we're just going to be flush with Fields.
There you go. I like that. I don't get the hype of Jordan Love because there's a potential Aaron Rodgers comes back.
No, didn't they confirm that he's not he's definitely going to the Jets?
Did they confirm it?
Yeah, I thought that they did.
Okay, maybe he did. Maybe that's why everyone's excited. But
I thought I saw Rolling with FD was confirming it, and he's usually on things, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, if you're listening and there is a confirmation that Aaron Rodgers is gone, let us know. And then there was news today. Did you see Jimmy G?
Yeah, it says right here, Jets Aaron Rodgers trade with Packers is done.
Oh, wow.
Signs are indeed pointing to Aaron Rodgers joining the Jets. NFL fans hold their collective breath as Aaron Rodgers' decision moves. It looked like it says 6 hours ago that it's done. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. I know Jimmy G signed with Oakland today. So he's going to be the starter. I'm wondering this weekend if people are going to be having their Jimmy G's in their showcase.
Oh, for sure they will, because he got traded. Anytime there's hype, we've seen this over and over again. Yep. And that's what was going on, because everyone's speculating whether or not, Love's going to be QB1 for the Packers. And you can just see the hype building. And, for basketball, everyone's looking at Tatum, man. Nobody had Tatum in their things, and they were all buying it. If there was a Tatum, I saw a guy sell a card that sold for $800 like 2 times in the last couple weeks. He sold his for $1,500. Same card.
Jeez. That and then when we were at Shipshawana, everyone was asking about your Kaboom. when you weren't around, and I was like on that. They're like, "What's your price on the Kaboom? What's your price on this Kaboom?"
Firm though, but that one's firm. Like, and
Yeah.
we will come up and down on stuff, but some things no, you know. So
Mhm.
it's fun. It was fun watching when everybody baseball. Everybody was obviously looking for Bowman, as
Yeah.
always. I had brought a Wander with me, and that
Mhm.
one was comping at like, I don't there doesn't have a comp. It's like a pop one. So
Yeah.
we were like, $200. Nobody even argued. They're like, yeah, for sure, that's a $200 card. There
There you
was
go.
no arguing. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. I
Yeah.
just I it was it is I think it's a buyer's market right now because you could put your cards out and they're going to sell. Now, if,
Mhm.
if you don't have them priced right, they might not sell
No.
because again, there's a lot of cards out there and people can buy anything that they want because the prices are affordable now. So if
Yep.
you're not being competitive with your selling, it makes it more of a challenge to like, you know, buy and sell in a profit because everyone's very like tight with what they're willing to negotiate at,
Mhm.
but it makes super awesome cards a
Mhm.
lot more accessible. A
Yep.
lot more accessible. So
Well, even like the ones that are kind of um what do you call it? Like they sell easier. Like for
liquid.
example, yeah, they're more liquid, right? It helps to, and I did this at Skyline. I was walking around and I saw cards that we both had in our showcase, and I saw the prices, and then I would go back and reprice mine, so it's a little bit.
Scumbag.
Hey, hey, I got.
Hey, you're out doing reconnaissance, right?
Hey, hey, it worked. Hey, I sold some stuff. I didn't, and people were happy because I was under market. So I'm not going to try to compete with some other dealer with the
You're
same.
just like cutting other people's bottom lines out.
Hey,
Scumbag.
it is what it is. I needed to do. I needed to sell at that point because I couldn't sell a card to save my life. And then once I sold that Skyline, it's been nonstop, like you said, buyer's market, and I've been buying.
Once you like,
Like,
yeah, once you get there, you get there, you know?
yeah, it's like it's like finding a key that's like to unlock the door. Once you find that key, it's like nonstop.
You're in Narnia now.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
a couple things that I want to talk about Dallas that were like a little
Yep.
different that I thought were kind of cool was it's at the Marriott there in
Mhm.
Allen. That hotel, by far the nicest hotel that I've stayed at for a show, maybe ever.
Even Culture Collision, because you said that trade night was right.
No, the hotel
Okay.
itself. I'm
Okay.
talking about the hotel. My room, the hotel was
Oh, the real.
gorgeous.
Okay. Okay.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. Like if you could stay there and it's literally everything is right there. There's no walking. You don't have to like walk across to a convention center. It is there.
Okay.
So it was super nice. So that's one. So two was that unlike other shows, there's like one big room and then they have a bunch of like small rooms and then stuff in the hallways that connect all the rooms. So there's so much to see.
Mhm.
And if you have people that are just at the hotel and you have like one of the tables in the hallway, you don't have to pay to go into those to like see those.
Yeah.
So these people could just like say you're in town and you don't have time to go to the show or you don't want to pay to get in the show, but you wanted to drop cards off with PWCC or
Mhm.
SGC. You literally didn't even have to pay to go into the show to do that. They're set up right
Cool.
out front of the show. You could
Mhm.
walk up, drop off your cards, and leave.
Mhm.
That's it.
That's actually really that's clutch is what the kids would say nowadays.
Yeah, like if you're not like say you're only gonna go to the show Friday
Mhm.
and you maybe bought wax and then ripped it and then you have to leave but you still want to drop off your cards with PWCC or SGC before you leave, you literally don't even have to go in the show. You could just walk over and drop it off with them right there out front.
Oh wow.
So I thought that was really cool. That would be like a big benefit to having like an outside table and not like maybe getting a table inside of the or Heritage was set up outside too. And then the big main room was just packed the whole time. It was packed. Friday wasn't as busy. It was still very busy, but it wasn't. It was like Shipshawana busy, let's say.
Okay.
Saturday, Saturday was so busy that I actually got claustrophobic for a minute. There were so
Really?
many people. I had to I left and I went into the side rooms because those rooms weren't quite as crazy. And you could walk around a little easier in them, but they were still very busy. It was there were so many people. This show was by far the busiest show I've ever been to. There was like the most people I've ever seen at a show ever.
Really?
And with as big as it is, you would think that you would have even more room to walk around. And I'm not saying that it was bad, because if I was a dealer at a show and there were that many people there, I'd be like, this is the best show I've ever been to. But as someone walking around, it made me like, I got a little claustrophobic. The other thing is you would think with that many people there that you'd be nervous, your cards would get stolen. How do you keep an eye out on stuff? How are the people walking around, how are they safe? And I have to say that there were so many police officers, like literally standing guard, like everywhere, walking up and down the aisles, in all of the rooms, standing in the hallways. And I used to plan events for the Chamber of Commerce, so I know how much it costs, like to hire police to come. You have to pay for that. The city's not just going to send police because you're having an event. You have to hire them, and that is an expense. So, and it wasn't like security guards. These were legitimate police there. So that, it made me feel a lot better. Like I felt like if I was like walking down and someone grabbed my bag and tried to steal it from me, they're going to get stopped. You know, they're not going to make it out of the building with my cards. And they also have giant cameras on stands that are set up, and there's screens that face everywhere, all over the place. So everywhere you look, if you're walking around, you see these security cameras, and you see yourself, like, you know, when you're walking into the Walmart and you like, it's 3 a.m. and you look like trash, and then you can see your face, or when you're checking out and you're like, because they're watching you check out. They have that everywhere at the show. So if you do something, you really like smile, you're on camera. Like to the point of, there was a lady in the back corner that had no cases, and she had hundreds of cards just set out everywhere. And she was like, you know, not even really paying all that much attention to them. And I personally felt very anxious, but then I looked and I see this camera. So anywhere she's standing, she can see the angle of her table. Yeah. And if someone's standing there doing something.
I like that. I did see, like, in the past, you know, the hype of 2020, there's like some, you know, people trying to steal there, and you could see like they showed the actual cameras, what they like you could see their face, like it was bad.
They don't play. No, it is a safe show. And then, like I was saying, there's those little rooms. There's like, you walk in and there's one hallway and there's a room over here, and then you walk down the main hallway where like PWCC was set up and SGC was set up and everything was set up. And then there's a big main room to the left, and then there's 2 hallways, and there was like a room on the right side. Well, I didn't realize I came out a different door, and there was a whole another room that I didn't even see or know that existed. I was so excited. And then there was like a ton of like Pokemon, and that was like, it was almost like that whole room was filled with TCG and Funko Pops and toys. I was like, oh, I just walked into heaven. This is amazing. So it was really exciting.
That's awesome. And we our stud muffin. Look at this guy.
Look at you looking all sexy.
I know.
Hello, handsome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I had to put you on the bottom because you were late. So Courtney stays on top today.
That's where Courtney always is. Courtney's favorite place to be. Now you know a little bit more about us.
Yeah. So we're talking. I last question on Dallas, and then we could get into like what Jeremy experienced with PSA, and Burbank. But Courtney, so you're saying that the traffic was not like an issue, because remember there was kind of concerns before about Philly show going on and Nashville going on. Everyone was talking about it, but what you're saying is that there was no like.
No, and actually, I was walking around with Chris Hodge. I gotta give him his flowers. Where he was doing a deal with a guy who sets up all over the place, and he asked the guy, he's like, you know, Nashville's going on this weekend, Philly's going on this weekend, you know, Dallas is going on this weekend. Why did you pick this show and not one of the other ones? And like literally not, because I haven't been to the other 2 shows, so I don't have an opinion about this. The guy was just like, this is the show to be at. So that was his answer. So I was like, okay. And then I told Chris, I'm like, that was a great question. Like it didn't even occur to me to ask that, but that he was like, this is the show to be at. And I feel like the area is really big. and there's like a ton of just people there anyways. So
And their show is every other month, correct? Or is it once a
isn't
quarter?
it quarterly?
Is it quarterly? I thought it was every other month.
I think it might be a little more than quarterly, and maybe not quite every other month. But
Maybe it's if it's every third month, that is quarterly though.
yeah, no. But I think there's more than 4 and less than 6.
Okay.
Or maybe
I guess
there's
we
about
should have
6.
looked that up. Maybe I talked to Kyle and he said he indicated that he might be willing to come on and do an interview. So maybe we can.
Okay.
We can.
You know, one thing that I thought was fascinating, and I thought it was a very good question by Chris, but I asked Courtney, like, was foot traffic impacted by these other 2 substantial shows going on? And Courtney told me that she couldn't fathom there being more people there, that it would be too much.
It would have been. I felt the same way about Shipshawana. We had that blizzard, and it was so packed, and we did the most kids in the scavenger hunt we'd ever had. Could you imagine if the weather was good and people didn't get snowed in? How crazy that would have been.
Mm-hmm. No, so I just wanted to bring this up. Jeremy was actually like spot on, unless there was one in January or something. But there's March, then May. So the next one's May, and then there's one right before the National, and then September, November. So you might be right, Jeremy. It's not quarterly, or it's not every other month. So
maybe you know what? A few months ago when we started doing this, we were kind of talking about like, oh, I wonder what show's better. Oh, is it Burbank? Is it Dallas? Is it going to be Mint? And unbeknownst to us, we're actually going to be able to answer that question here in a few weeks because of Courtney's willingness to go travel and go to card shows to give us,
I know it's rough.
Fanatics money.
It's really rough on me to have to go to these awesome shows and like report back on how awesome they were. I took pictures of people's showcases too. I'm gonna make like a little montage. I just have been busy today, so I haven't done it. I have a montage for Shipshawana too of just like the insane cards that I saw. There was a guy who brought like 2 cases and that was it. And he was in set in one of those like back rooms. And he was just like, he wasn't like super friendly, but he wasn't super friendly. He wasn't friendly, but he didn't have to be because this man had the most amazing cards that I saw at the show the whole day. I'm just like, oh, you just decided to come and show off? And he was like, he's like, oh, I'm going to sell something. I'm like, oh, well, I hope you sell something. But they were like, I think his cheapest card was like $42,000. Like that was his low end.
That's insane.
One thing I wanted to just touch on, and you guys might have covered it if you did, just, let me make my point, and then we'll move on. I thought it was an incredible show for Courtney because once again, it reiterated the fact that when you are in buy and sell mode, all of a sudden making social media content goes by the wayside. So I would check randomly. I'm going to check Insta. I'm going to get a real rundown. I'm like, man, there is nothing. I'm going to check again. Nothing. And then Courtney might step out for a second. She's like, so I was 45 minutes into this deal going back and forth to give me play by play. And I'm like, damn, she was in the trenches.
Yep.
And one thing that I thought was pretty damn impressive was we, and by we, Courtney, got involved in several trade talks that were very much time consuming. The intent was to get a deal done, but I'm so incredibly proud of the fact that she got to a spot where she didn't feel comfortable and said, it's okay to walk away. It is quite all right. Live to fight another day. And so I just think as we talk about education and becoming better and stronger, I think Court would be the first to admit that she's not the biggest fan of trading. That transactional piece just doesn't. It's just not her favorite thing to do. She's much more cash for card. And so I was
literally
incredibly
verbatim. Yeah.
That's
okay. So I'm just incredibly proud for her to go through that process. I think she would say that she's that much stronger and better. And also, like in the past, she might have just said, I feel maybe a sense of obligation that we went down this path. I'll buckle and let you, win the deal per se. But I was just really happy that it's not an L by any means. It's like you're stronger for it, you're better for it, and you came home, you got the card, and you got a different perspective. So just wanted to add that color.
Yeah, no, we talked about the deal with the Luca where I just we couldn't come to whether or not he agreed with my assessment of the price, and that I totally understood his point of view, because as a dealer, you know, you want to get the most out of whatever card you take on. You want to, you know, come in at the lowest, and as a seller, I want to get the most out of it. So like I said, it was a long trade back and forth, and that's exactly what I said. Usually I would have felt like pressure to just like make the deal because I had spent so much energy doing it. But I walked away, and I told Manny too. I'm like, this guy was like, I watched him sell like $1 million card while I was standing there. So my like little trade probably didn't mean that much to him, but it was for me a big deal. And I walked away like not with hard feelings because we didn't come to an agreement, but like I felt like I had learned something, and I felt pleased with myself that I didn't, like you said, just do the deal because I had done all of this work towards it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you always say, baby? Don't confuse activity with accomplishment.
That is correct. And I just want to point out the numbers have doubled since I joined this live stream. And I think that's why Ruben cuts the checks out directly to Jeremy. Exactly. And then I distribute the funds as I deem fit.
Yeah, to Courtney. No, Courtney, I do want to say, though, like, this is kind of to Jeremy, too. Like you said, if you don't get a deal, sometimes that's the W, right? You got to win on that aspect in Starbucks. But what's cool about your story that you said was
how
many
waterfall over there too.
Once you said no to that deal, how the person next to you was interested, and then the dealer was interested. At Shipshawana, everyone was asking about that card. So you have a card that you could sell, and you kind of stood your ground because you knew that going in. So that's like,
I'm telling you, as someone who doesn't trade a lot, I was proud of myself because I don't like to trade. I feel like I have said that probably on almost every podcast I've ever been on. It is not my favorite thing. And I know that's such a huge like part of the hobby is trading. And it's just not my favorite thing. And I understand for the years that I've been doing this, how stupid it is that I don't like to trade. I would rather just buy a card that I want or sell my card for cash. And that's it, And so I feel like part of my growth in this space is if I'm going to stay in here, we're going to be doing, when I collected, my most expensive valuable card was probably like $500. And now we have significantly more value in our cards. And if you're going to stay in a space and you're going to grow and you're going to get bigger, you have to do things that make you like are outside of your comfort zone. And for me, outside of my comfort zone is for sure trading.
Mine's everything. All of the above. Well, we are at the 48-minute mark. I do want to get into what Jeremy experienced last week. Mr. Sickness himself, Stud Muffin himself. So, Jeremy, how was getting treated like a king at PSA and visiting Burbank?
It was a wild experience because the day before we left, Kaya Bear came in, crawled into bed, and was feeling under the weather, and she coughed and then proceeded to like roll over and put her hand directly into my mouth. So she might as well just cough directly into my mouth. And so I've never had an issue flying with my ears. I had like the worst cold. My nose made Rudolph look just whack. It was stuffed while simultaneously drippy. And I just rocked the worst cold. So in that sense, it was not cool. But no, it was awesome. I got to hang out with all the top tier group submitters for PSA. So anybody that spends over $1 million annually with PSA got to go for the first ever. I think this is going to be an annual event. So I got to rub elbows with the likes of KK Cards, Clay Cards, Nash Cards, some of these people we've known before. I went with TNT, and it was more so I was just just quiet and reserved and a little more of a sponge. PSA Canada was there, Level Up Subs, and just kind of hear about what they see in their business, the way they operate, the complaints that they had. I won't lie. I tried to take advantage and enjoy the whale watching and just kind of chill and look at, multi-billion-dollar homes and dolphins popping up and just kind of take it all in. So that was cool. The first night we went to dinner was absolutely the worst dinner I have ever been to. Shame on you, PSA. The effort was there. The effort was there. It was called Zinike, and it was like fresh seafood, couscous, stuff that none of these card guys wore. Like, I'm wearing a sweater, a button-up, and a pair of loafers. and I was the most dressed up person representing card people. All the other card people looked like card people. So that restaurant, everybody left hungry. Everybody proceeded to go there and get like pizza or get room service. The next day, going to, PSA's headquarters was cool. The thing that I took away that I enjoyed the most is we got to spend one-on-one time with the grader and ask questions about cards that were in a BGS 9.5 slab, why they couldn't be crossed, what they're looking for regarding centering, what dimples are allowable. So we had a half an hour with one of our grader was David, and we asked him a lot of poignant questions, very specific, to get a better idea of what they're looking for when they look at the cards. And I found that to be just an awesome experience.
That's invaluable knowledge to have.
Yeah. So I do have a question about the dots and service with PSA, because I watched a video with the SGC. And I think it was Sports Card Investor went there and he was asking questions. And I have a card here, but the dimple, if the dimple's not right slab in the middle, they don't take it as much as serious as if it's by the edge, right? Is that kind of how PSA does it there?
So I don't, and I want to just be clear. I'm taking my interpretation and my understanding of what our grader told us, and I'm a self-proclaimed idiot. So I just want to put that out there. But a lot of those defects only come into play when it draws away from the eye appeal. So it is very possible that you could have cosmetic defects, blemishes, dimples on the card, but if it doesn't pull from the eye appeal, it is still possible for it to 10. And then we got into how they measure the card, centering left to right, up to down, the way they look at corners. And so I had submitted a Jordan to crossover, and everybody's looked at it and everybody said hey, I think this has a legit chance. These guys were able to show me a corner by holding it a certain way in the light, upside down, with a magnifying glass, where because the Beckett slab scratches so easy, unless they're beyond a shadow of a doubt 100% convinced it's going to 10, they're not going to take the chance, which makes complete sense. The last thing they want from a marketing standpoint is, us posting a BGS 9.5, and then all of a sudden, hey, it's actually a 10. So, for something to cross, it has to be
immaculate almost.
Yeah, and so those are thicker stock cards. So I thought that was awesome. We got to learn all about Golden. I know the show's dropping soon, March, April. That's going to be out. So we learned about the Golden Marketplace. We learned about WADA. We learned about, fraud and security within the slab. So I actually took a lot of pictures, and I thought that portion was really done. So my big takeaway there is, and I'm a systems and process guy, they clearly have identified what they want to do with their business, and there's a plan in place for what they're trying to do. They are trying to remove a lot of friction where potentially somebody can send a card in, it gets graded, it goes directly up to Golden, gets sold on Golden, and you're paid as quickly and cleanly as possible with the least amount of friction. They are clearly coming for PWCC. I got the sense that they feel like they're going to bypass PWCC within 1 year in terms of sales and volume. And, one thing that they said, which, you take with a grain of salt, but they said that they're already selling at 95% of comps of eBay, which I kind of laughed at because I just assumed there's so many deals that you can find on PWCC. And I had heard the same on Golden, but until I do that my own research, but they're definitely making a run of it. You got to hear about some of their vaulting service, on the East Coast. So it was incredibly informative, and I learned so much.
I feel like the more selling platforms there are, the better it is for buyers, in my opinion. So
there's not a chance in hell, my personal opinion, that I would sell on PWCC or Golden unless it was a 5-figure card or more.
It's definitely the high end. That's where I go to look for high end cards for sure. I wouldn't sell a high end card on eBay.
No. Isn't it funny that their standard is looking at comps from eBay instead of being no, we're the comps? I don't know. That when you
Well,
say it,
eBay's the that's the one you have to like overtake. That's like it's like whoever won the World Series last year, they're like, oh, our batting average is better than theirs this year
Yeah.
already. So that's you're comparing, when you have like the standard, it's meeting the standard and then beating it. So if they're not quite at the standard yet, that makes sense that they'd be like, look at how we're new and we're already at 95%. To me, that is it is a bit of a flex because you can't make yourself the standard when you're the new guy. That just sounds impossible, and it sounds like you're lying. So people, who's going to believe that? If they came out and they're like, oh yeah, we're selling at 110% of eBay, I'd be like, no, you're not. Prove it.
Yeah, it's just wild. So we're sitting there, and so everybody brought in cards, so people's orders were popping and they were bringing them out. And I have never been around so many damn awesome cards in my life, because it was just
You got to go to Dallas then.
No. But this was just like, think of like a really well done lunchroom, like cafeteria, like very fancy and modern, probably something that they'd have at Google, with these tables with just slabs sitting around 50, 100, 150,000. People bringing 52 mantles that they were trying to get the bump from, like maybe a 3 to a 3.5 or a 4 to a 4.5, just like really sick stuff. But you want to know the coolest thing of this trip was, and it has absolutely not a damn thing to do with PSA, was we had dinner that night with Nat Turner at some steakhouse. We skipped it and we went to Burbank.
That is such a Jeremy thing to do.
yeah. Well, yeah. Jeremy was ready to look at some cards at Burbank.
Dude, so first off, traffic in LA or south of LA is no joke. I get motion sickness, and we had an Uber driver that was 117 years old who wanted to test the gas pedal and the brake pedals right after one another. So I was like 10 minutes into the ride, and I was like, not cool. But anyway, we got there, and we were with his name's John. He owns baseball card something in Atlanta. A lot of people have seen him in Jeff Wilson's video, Sports Card Investor. So old timer. He's a Hobby Hall of Famer. He was inducted to the Hobby Hall of Fame last week. So I made sure I gave him his flowers, and I stroked him, like, letting him know you're the big Dow. But he knew Rob. He knew Rob from Burbank, and that turned into, we got the tour of how the facility works. He took us over to the warehouse a couple blocks down, give us the tour there, introduced us to the team. So like the first hour in Burbank, I felt like I was in one of the social media influencer videos that they do at his facility. Introduced us to his dad, like the whole shebang. Couldn't have been any more warm and welcoming. And we proceeded to spend like the next 4.5, 5 hours there buying cards. And I felt bad for John because he just was there for the relationship and wanted to say hi. And by the end, his ass was just sitting there like, please, can we get the hell out of here? And me and Tommy from TNT were just like, oh my God, dude, come here. Look, do you see that? Yeah, come here. Like, the word that I would use to describe it is like, I felt giddy. I legitimately felt like a child.
The best part of that whole day was seeing the text message of Courtney saying, hey, did you see my card that I'm looking for? And this was like 5 hours that you were at Burbank. You're like, you didn't respond, and you took a picture of like, I don't even know if it was actually in that picture, but you took a picture and said nope.
Or yeah, well, that was the showcase that was like, miscellaneous sports.
Yeah.
So it was everything outside of like the big four. But the amount of one-of-ones, $10,000 cards, $20,000 cards that were just readily available, 41 showcases, and it spread out. It didn't seem like 41 because it's just spaced so evenly. The wax was incredible. They had you could buy individual packs of 96 chrome, $900 a pack. Like, it was just absolutely wild. So you're like accumulating cards as you in this card shop. Let me tell you something. You'd say, hey, that card's for $250, last comp's at $210. Can you work with me? And the guy you're dealing with isn't the decision maker. They go into Ryan's office, who's Rob's son, who does all of purchasing. And then they come back and they say yay, nay, or what number he can be at. And then they have bins in the front where they like think of they keep your stack. So like for 4.5 hours, I was just like, yeah, I want that. Throw that up here. Hey, can you work with me on that one? Yeah, throw that up there. And so I'm like, I have an idea of how much money I spent, but not 100% sure.
It's like a car dealer. You're like, I gotta go back and ask my boss, like, oh, I put the top coat on it for you.
Yeah.
So like, I spent the time, he talked about the next Burbank show that's coming up. The way he views the card business, the way he looks at his business and his shop and how he's constantly evolving in the shop. Like they do something that like whatever day they do a TikTok or a reel for Instagram, there's a showcase dedicated to that. So if you see it, you want to come in, you just like, hey, where's the Tuesday case? Where's the Wednesday case? Or you can find it that much easier. Like, and I just think that that's awesome. Additionally, like his business, they don't do grading. They don't do breaking. And when I asked him about the breaking, just because so many people do it, he's like, I like a business I can feel good about. And he wasn't throwing shade, but he's like, as a breaker, on 85% of your business is routinely disappointed or loses. And he's like, that's not a good way to run. And so I heard him like helping kids out who are trying to buy cards for their dad or a friend. And it was just a very like, he said experience. And it truly for me was a damn experience. It was so awesome.
It was like the Disney World of card shops.
Yeah. And I mean, Sasha T was there. I think he was trying to sell a ton. I don't want to speak on his business, but there were like on this dude's desk was stacks and stacks and stacks of cards. Like there's a waiting list. You sign in, you go to the doctor, then you write your name and you're like time in. There's just a couch, people chilling to sell cards, and they buy everything.
Yeah.
Everything. They buy your cards, Manny.
That's something. I think that I saw a video where they're like, they give you a percentage. Like this is the percentage that we're going to be at. And going in. So
yeah.
That helps.
So I was like, so obviously I'm there and they were talking about the amount of money. And I don't feel comfortable like saying any numbers, but the amount of money that they spend buying cards on a weekly basis is absolutely staggering. And the way that they process and shuffle the cards in and out makes it like, I mean, I didn't even see every single card. Like 4.5 hours, you know how I get, like the world was dead to me. I was just like, ooh.
I didn't hear from you.
Cards. Yeah. Like I didn't eat. I didn't drink. I was just like, ooh, cards. And then like we went like to some taco place afterwards and everybody was like, holy shit, we're hungry. We haven't eaten in like 9 hours.
That's awesome. I want to go. You guys are venturing out and I'm just sitting at home. I need to go venture out a little bit. But
we're venturing out to the Mint in a couple weeks.
We're all
going to that one.
So that will be fun. If you're going to end up at the Mint, let us know. We might have Courtney, this is something that I was going to talk to you about, but Jeremy and I
We're going to do it live on YouTube right now.
Yeah, just merch. We talked about it in the past about merch and stuff like that. It'd be fun. Maybe just Jeremy and I and you to have some merch. But yeah, I'm excited. You guys have a show next weekend that you're going to go walk the show, right? On Friday.
We actually have quite a few shows before the Mint.
You're right, because it's like 3 weekends out. I'm still thinking it's
we have Sports Card Spectacular this weekend, then we have Lansing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go to Mint, and then we come back, and we right away have
Petoskey,
and then we have Johnny Ford.
Yep.
And then we have a lot. And then Labor Day is Shipshawana again.
Don't stress yourself out, Courtney. Don't stress yourself out again. So I know
making the transition to like slabs only has brought me an incredible amount of peace of mind, because if we were doing dollar boxes with all these shows, forget about it. I'd stick a fork in me.
I agree. It's been nice to switch over to the before I felt like we had to do everything, and that's part of like your evolution in the space that you're in, is like just do what works for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now Courtney, you're kind of coming in. Me and you are on the same world with the TCG stuff, I feel like. So we're on our own separate world than Jeremy on that aspect. But yeah, Jeremy, when you weren't gone, I did shout out Matt. He sent me 10 Nomars just out of nowhere. So I did shout him out. He's
don't go anywhere yet. I'll show.
Okay. And then I just wanted that bringing that back up before we leave is I appreciate the Thicc fam. Like, we are building a community that is like the greatest people in the hobby. They'll give a shirt off your back, and we would give a shirt off our backs to them as well. So you might not fit Jeremy's because he's 6'7", but you could use it as a blanket.
Okay, so Matt sent us this
Some P-Will.
and this.
Oh, nice.
And this
Nice.
is numbered out of $2.99. So that was dope. That we got in the mail. And then we also had another mail day. Jeremy hasn't seen these yet, so
Let's
I
go.
figure he might like to see them. So start with this one.
Ooh, that's nice. That's clean.
That's a
Ooh.
10.
Did
So
you?
that's the white mosaic.
That's numbered out of 25, right?
It is out of 25. And then
You had to do that flex.
the white sparkle
Ooh,
SA 10. And these are like rumored, even though you don't have proof, these are like 20 or less, right?
Yeah.
So
That
that's
is a good. You know where I sealed that? I closed that deal in an airplane. Oh, I do have to do this. United sucks. Don't ever flight United. $1,800 for my tickets, first class, to fly in a 1942 plane. I threw my garbage in like the little cigarette wrappers, like in the cigarette dispenser.
oh, they had cigarettes.
Ashtray. No, I mean I'm exaggerating for effect, but
Oh,
holy
I
crap.
was like, ew.
What a brutal airline, man. What an absolute just brutal airline. Like,
So just-
everything about it, like even from baggage drop, it was just like not a good experience. Not at all.
so
Not at all.
Delta or nothing.
Yeah, I mean I've always played
Delta
up
or bust.
Delta.
Southwest
But like
isn't terrible either.
yeah, Delta's always treated me pretty well. And I let Tommy book his flight because I just didn't want the
Pressure.
pressure of making him feel forced to fly something or spend money he didn't have or didn't want to spend, I should say. And so he booked it. So I'm like, okay, cool. And it was not good. I will say this. Your priority bag came off the plane first. I will say they did do that well, if I'm being fair. But yeah, I closed that deal on the airplane, bro. Closed that on the airplane.
Never
Good
stop
job.
working. Never stop working. That's why you pay for Wi-Fi.
I do. And I'm always convinced that like the one moment, like I missed a Justin Fields yesterday, like the 10 minutes I wasn't like scouring Discord. Like somebody sold a card or that downtown Trevor Lawrence. So I'm like, I feel like now I need to go up and spend 13 hours scouring the internet for deals.
Well, that's what probably you're going to end up doing when we get off this. So I have no shame. You're done with work. You're a busy man. Worked all
Dude,
day.
I landed
hours.
16 hours before lunch, my friend. But you know what we closed last night at like 10 o'clock is we secured the Justin Fields camo prism out of 25. Shout out Veriswap. I've had a couple of people who got the number that they were looking for and then got greedy. So like I've got one guy just on principle alone. I was willing to pay the number that he wanted. And then he's using some cockamamie math, which I don't blame him. Like it's his prerogative. And now he's trying to get more. And I'm like, no, I already offered you the number that you asked. And now he's like circling back and that price is starting to come back down to the original price, but just out of principle, I'm out. But this guy,
Justin Fields, this is the
No.
Justin. Oh, okay.
no, that was a different one. So that one was a Jalen Brunson on-card auto optic out of 20.
Okay.
But yeah, man, we've just been quarterbacks like crazy, quarterback, and it's a new game for us because we always kind of like avoided football. Not that we don't like football, it's just
We never
But-
collected it or purchased or played
Yeah.
in that. That was not our space.
But man,
No.
the kids love football cards.
The ladies like football cards too. I'm telling you that Joey V. He's
Big
pretty
Dick
good
Joe,
looking.
as they say in the great land of Cincinnati, Ohio.
He's not hard on the eyes. Let me tell you.
That's what's going to happen with Jimmy G. I'm telling you. Now that he got traded, you're going to see in Chicago this weekend. Everyone's having him out in their showcase.
Trying to recoup any funds while there's a buzz for 2 minutes.
Exactly.
Like I'm waiting for Matt Person to tell me that, Derek Carr is the greatest quarterback ever.
We have a card for Matt.
Oh.
We're gonna send him a card.
Did Aaron Rodgers sign with Jets? Courtney and I were wondering. Well, Courtney found an article actually that said it was confirmed. I didn't hear anything.
I don't think it's official yet. I think they're just waiting on him.
I think it's like all but official.
Oh, okay. So because we were talking about the hype of Jordan Love and how it's a risk because you don't know what's going to happen, and it's like you're paying that top dollar if he doesn't end up.
Can we talk about like what an epic douchebag Aaron Rodgers is? Like, draw this out. Like, either you're gonna do it or you're not, man.
He's gonna retire.
He makes me insane. I can't stand him as a human being. Like, he's a fantastic football player.
Yep.
I had no hate there, but as a person, I was who was I talking to this weekend? I told them that he just looks like he smells bad. And I feel like when you look at him, I'm like, I can smell this picture of him because he probably just stinks. I find him like just appalling as a person. I don't like him. I don't like the stuff he says. I don't like the way he looks. I don't like the way he walks. I can't stand his face. Everything about him makes me mad. And this is not being a hateful Bears fan. I just don't like him.
You didn't have to throw that in at the end.
I don't know, man. It's just, you ever like see someone, you're like, man, I don't know you, but I would punch you in the face. That is how I feel about Aaron Rodgers. Yep. I just don't like him. I don't. Respect as and being like a good football player and everything, but I mean, when was the last time the man won anything like other than nothing? It's been a while.
I like it. Courtney's rant, Aaron Rodgers rant.
He smells bad.
Yeah. Clip that. We're gonna post that on Courtney.
Go ahead. I said what I said.
Yeah. The person clipping it is Courtney, so she can make it sound how good as she wants.
I'm going to clip it and I'm going to post it up and I'll be like, I said what I said.
Yeah. So, do you guys have
regrets?
No regrets. Come at me, Aaron Rodgers. Like, you're going to watch this.
Yeah.
Like, you would condescend to watch what I have to say. Watch, he does. And then just like him sitting in his like dark room. It's like pitch black, but he's got his phone. He's listening to me say he smells bad. It's just like a tear.
Yeah, one tear. Then you say, I'm a Bears fan, and then he gives a little smirk.
He says, I own you.
Yeah.
And that old bitch in Michigan who talked shit about me motivated me to come back and, destroy the Bears.
Someone jumped in there.
Yeah, speaking of people who like people who smell bad. Fucking Packers fans jumping in the live. Don't share their comments.
I can't believe you just called me an old bitch on live YouTube.
I didn't say that. Look at Aaron Rodgers. He probably talks that way, right?
I mean, I feel like you were just using that as a reason to be able to say it out loud.
You don't know me if you think I need a reason to talk to you any sort of way. I say what I want when I want.
Hey, we're gonna get off of this. He's gonna be like, "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it like that."
Yeah, he is.
It's like that Key and Peele. He's like, "Bitch."
Yeah.
She really said it to her, and I was like,
Courtney, he's gonna be up all night till like 3 a.m. I can't believe I said that.
Are you mad at me?
She's not soft like those other people.
I don't want her to be mad at me.
I don't want her to be mad at me. No, here's something about me, sir. I'm not soft.
Yeah, she's not. So, any last words? We have a guest on for this week, and we also are going to try to do a Jeremy Manny meat sticks, tummy sweats.
Meat sticks and tummy sweats.
Yeah, we're going to try to get.
That's what your merch should be. We should make it like a meat sticks shirt, and then just like
have
it look like a wet patch on the stomach. So everybody always looks like, is that guy's stomach sweating? But it's really just the way the shirt is designed.
Ooh, I like that. Jeremy? Jeremy would not wear that.
Absolutely not. But I would definitely sell it and monetize it for the Thickalos if they
want
to wear a shirt.
You put a Thickalo on the back and like fake tummy sweat on the front.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Thickalos, we could introduce like as a parallel, like the sad droopy pumpkin.
That's only funny to us because we know the story. But that was fantastic.
Cliffhanger.
All right.
Our friend got like drunk at a concert and then sat in the back of my car and screamed at me to turn the air conditioning on because he was a droopy pumpkin. I don't know.
He described himself as like a pumpkin on November 4th.
He's like, turn on the air conditioning. You know, like, you know, when you leave your pumpkin out too long.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was like smashed out of his mind in the backseat of my car, just like yelling at me that he was a droopy pumpkin.
That's good.
Oh God, I've lived 1,000 lifetimes in this episode, you guys.
Yeah. Jeremy, Mr. Lateness, you want to close us out?
Yeah, thank you for listening to the Too Thick Pod, your home for all sports, cards, and levity. I am Jeremy. You can follow me at Reckless Cards. Manny is our son. You can follow him at Too Thick Pod. And Manny B and Manny 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Courtney is my lovely wife. Dangerous games. Dun, 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 dun. Reckless Cards. Dun, 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 dun.
No.
Pod.
On card porn. You forgot to say that. She's on card
Pinned
porn.
on card porn.
Yep.
So can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I have yet to read the post nor look at the comments because the internet is such a savage place that I see one person even typing something that I infer is even relatively close to being mean, they will be dead to me. So therefore I just avoid it and I'm like, oh, everybody's cool, everybody's friendly.
I think everything was.
I think there was only one guy that said anything even slightly like disrespectful, and he just looked stupid. So, and I called him out, and everybody liked my comment, so it was fine.
Good.
No big deal.
Oh, I don't stand for that shit. I'm not soft, but I'm not gonna let you say shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so make sure you like, subscribe, smash all the buttons. You got to smash everything.
No, I want you to say it. I want you to say it like you would, like you're in your basement.
What?
Like
how
would you...
Smash! I don't fucking care, dude. Dude, do you know how much money I spend here? I'm like platinum elite. Like I shit all over diamond.
Did you see me take my earbuds out because I knew what he was gonna do?
I know. I was hoping I'd try to get him to do it because he's in his. He said,
what are they gonna go? What are you gonna say? Hey, Mister, you just spent $1,500 to stay here for a couple nights. You did.
God, you sound like such a douchebag right now.
I'm trying to entertain the Thickalos, and Manny's being a jag. What I'm saying is, I know.
Like, I can do what I want because I'm a rich white man in a hotel lobby.
I never said. Not rich, not white. So I don't meet any of the criteria laid out by you.
I own this Starbucks right next to me.
I'm wearing my sweater vest and my loafers, and I paid $1,500 for my room.
Check out my new haircut.
What I'm saying is that they're running a business here, and Jeremy's good for business.
Yeah, there you go.
That's about as good for business as those bratty kids whose family also paid to stay at the hotel who were running around blowing horns when I was in Cleveland.
Blowing horns? I just said smash because I'm trying to get the Thickalos to make sure that they get the updates and the notifications and all.
Oh, we gotta put like a disclaimer on the thing, like if you don't want your eardrums blown out.
The first time I've ever said smash to Courtney and she didn't have just a big smile on her face.
All right, we're fucking around now. Bye, everyone.
Peace out.
Smash!